you've been doing this for a while, but tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay, I brought notes. I'm Carrie. I'm a costume designer on a TV show called Doom Patrol on HBO Max.
I like that show.
It's a fun one. It's pretty rewarding in terms of the creative, weird stuff we get to do. And I made some notes so I wouldn't forget my own name. At first I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that because, you know, like trying to look professional. But here's the thing. I just got to be me. I get nervous. I forget stuff. It's okay. I'm just going to bring notes up and be me. And I think like that's part of what I'm seeing with this empowerment scholarship is that like people need to just be themselves, and we need to nurture that. So you know, kind of somewhat about professionalism to some extent. But yeah, no. So tell me about myself. How I got involved with costume design. So my mom sewed, and at an early age, I saw her sewing. She would take bed sheets, like our Snoopy bed sheets, and make them into bikinis with little like prairie bonnets that match. And I'm not sure if that was the catalyst that like really brought it out in me, but I did have a lot of opinions about what I wanted to wear. I didn't want to. I had to have an opinion about it. That's basically the long story short. And as I got older and learned how to sew, I would see things on TV and I would be like, oh, I want to be like that character. I want to be like Madonna and Who's That Girl? And I want like a stuffed animal head purse and a tutu. I saw like a commercial for JCPenney's and they had a black and white checkered 1950s skirt. And I was like, ooh, a silk skirt. I want one of those. And my mom took me to JCPenney's and they didn't sell them. I was like, what's with that? And so I started making the clothes that I wanted to wear, a lot of times out of clothes that were in storage in the basement, or, you know, cast-offs from my mom. Most of my cast-offs went to my 3 little sisters. So I was taking some of her 70s clothes and like making things out of them. And of course, like another inspiration is Halloween. And again, my mom making like fun Halloween costumes for us. I mean, that was my introduction. I thought I wanted to get into doing fashion design, and I went to FIT in New York City. And it was in being in fashion that I realized that my real love was character. And instead of having a demographic in a corporate environment, I wanted to tease out who was this individual who was going to wear this thing. And that's when I discovered that costume design was a career path. And again, like I always loved like playing with clothes, playing with even small decision is a different character. So yeah, that's how I discovered my love of costume design.
Yes, that was our next question, so you definitely tapped into that already. It's just what I gathered from that is from a young age, you've been very creative and you learned how to maximize minimum. And I think that's something that we all kind of feel like, oh, if I lack here, I can't do this. But it's just about tapping into that creativity and telling yourself, okay, well, I only have this box and this shoelace, and what can I make with this? You know, so that's pretty cool. So why is education so important? How has it benefited you?
So as I said, I went to FIT, that's the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, and actually hearing the last speaker about college tuition is really shocking to me because I went to a state of New York school, like a SUNY school, because the tuition was lower. And my parents had 4 kids who presumably they'd want to send to college. And it was, for out of state, it was $6,000 a semester back in the early 90s. And when I got in-state tuition, it was $3,000 a semester. I mean, that's really, that's affordable. What's happened now with education is not affordable. It is not accessible. And that's really daunting. But, you know, I went to fashion school, which was also a liberal arts college. We did have to take things like math and science and literature and stuff. And for me, it was being exposed to new people, to new ideas, to even the things that I didn't think I was interested in. I had classes in all different kinds of garment construction. I did children's wear, had no interest in it, but made a fun project out of it, you know? And I think that's one of the things is like, you never know where your path is gonna lead. The worst thing that you can do is like have contempt for something prior to investigation, because life is always gonna surprise you. And it was a sociology class in college that was the turning point where I realized what was missing in fashion for me was the reason behind why someone wears something, and that's the core to character. And I think that also like having a formal education in a college environment, there's sort of this change that happens there where you realize, I mean, high school is, you know, you may or may not have parents who are looking at you saying get good grades. I mean, society certainly is. College is one of those things where you really have to look at yourself and go, oh, this is me now. I'm an adult. I can never go back to being a kid. I either do this and care about it and strive for something. It's on me. And that's all it's on me. And it's sort of, it was sort of a turning point of going, my life is beginning now. I'm an adult. And I think that it has a structure and a discipline that trains you how to prioritize things, all these things that are gonna be great in the work world. You know, once you get out there, learn how to prioritize, learn how to pace yourself, adhering to deadlines, working with people you don't get along with, making diplomatic decisions to how you approach situations for the greater harmony. Like, there's so many things that you learn that you don't realize are on the curriculum in college. And it gave me, my education gave me a treasure trove of things that I still pull from. I never thought I'd get into sweater knits. This season, we designed a bunch of sweater knits. You know, I never thought I'd be making t-shirt designs. I had to figure out some graphic designing, you know? I mean, every little thing you learn, especially in costume design, I mean, 90% of the job is researching and looking at images and figuring out why or how, and it's just, yeah, just never taking any of that for granted. The college experience is so like full of treasures if you're open to them. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I do see how college really allows us to tap into who we are. So you don't really know yourself until you have to know yourself, if that makes sense. You know, you don't have anybody looking over your shoulder telling you to do the right thing. Your parents are going, you're excited about that part, right? Oh, I have to listen to my mom, my dad, what? But then that really counts as to what type of individual you're going to become and what area you want to focus on, because you don't know what you don't like until you really get into it. What is a day in the life of a costume designer? I know it's kind of all over the place, but if you can narrow it down, like, what is a day in the life?
Well, there's two ways to look at it. There's the day in the life, and then there's like the arc of what happens, the kind of trajectory of how to design a show. But I'm going to go with the easier one, which is a day in the life, which is I generally work a 12-hour day. I'm not crazy about that, but I mean, I'm lucky that I love what I do. And it starts with me waking up and looking through my emails. If there's any emergencies, I respond. Get to work, check in with my assistant costume designer, with my costume supervisor, and usually spin upstairs to check in with the tailors to make sure everyone has the information and I'm answering the questions that they have for me. Then I talk to the shoppers, we look through what we've shopped, and if we have what we need for the fittings. I share research with them, which I've done prior, and gotten approved from the people above me, which Sometimes I call them the powers that be. My mentor calls the producers and directors, she calls them the voices. So, anything I've gotten approvals on, I can give them information for them to go out and look for what I'm looking for. What I like isn't necessarily what they're gonna like. What they're gonna like isn't necessarily what I like, and it might not necessarily any of it be what the producers or directors like. So there's a lot of psychology to it, to coming to an agreement of finding the character together, and it's that collaboration that is so much fun. After that, I might check in with the textile artists. They're the people who will make the costumes look like they've been worn. So we have a brand new pair of sneakers. We need them to look like this person has been skateboarding for 10 years. We rip them to shreds and the right places, and that's where research comes in again. Where do skateboarders, like, which foot gets more wear? You got to know which foot they're going to skateboard on. So is the front foot going to be the right foot or the left foot for this person? So it's like all those little details that really they working with the actor, because you're going to have to know how they do it. It's not, you're not just making it up in a bubble. But then we will make the shoes be what we need them to be. Bust out the back of the hem so it looks like it's been dragging on the ground. It's all of that artistry that people don't realize sometimes that goes into it. Let's see, after that, what else do we do? God, it's so much. Also, there's the script, and this comes down to how does a costume get designed? Reading the script, figuring out how many different days happen in the script, how many script days are there. That's going to tell you how many times the character is going to change their clothes. Changing clothing is a good way that we can tell there's a passage of time, because if someone wore the same thing every day, you don't know that. So it's it's a storytelling maneuver, and then making note of anything that has stunt doubles. If there's a stunt double, you have to get the same costume in a different size, or the same size, or have multiple ones, because halfway through the fight scene they're going to have blood down the front of it because they got the nose busted. All of these little things that prepare you for what you're going to send to set. So then you get to the approved costume. It's the day it's going to shoot. You have it on a rack, and I go through and just make sure all the pieces are there and it's good to go. We send it to the costume truck, where then it goes to set on the actor, and it gets established, and then it is a lot of times out of my hand from there on out, unless something comes up. Oh, can we change it to this elbow that we ripped? No, we cannot, because we already made the second jacket that has a patch right there, so we got to keep it on that elbow. It's things like that. So yeah, that's kind of the day in the life, and then the very end of the day, we make boards of what is expected to shoot tomorrow. We have the fitting photos on a PDF where we show everybody what they're going to expect to see the next day, and I share that, blast it out to anybody who needs it on the crew. Hair and makeup, the costumers on the truck, obviously, they put it outside the door for the people who are going to wear, who are going to be the stand-ins, because stand-ins, when they're lighting for the scene, stand-ins have to wear the similar colors as what the actor's going to be wearing. So that gives them the information they need. So it's a lot of information sharing. Yeah, so, all right.
And a lot of us don't think that process exists. We just think that, oh, okay, I like this, put it on. If you really want to be creative as a lot of designer, particularly costume designer, fashion designer, there are a lot of moving parts, and you pretty much just clarified that for us. So in closing, can you give us 5 tips for up-and-coming designers? What are your top 5 tips that you would give?
Okay. And again, I'm reading off some notes here because I forget if you ask me my favorite movie, I'll be like, I don't remember. To be in this industry, to be in the film industry, you really have to have a lot of enthusiasm for it. You have to love it, because it's not always appreciated by the people you want to be appreciated by. But sometimes it is, and those days feel really good. But you gotta love it, it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. And because I care so much, because when you get into this and you care so much, it's so easy to get emotionally involved in it. And that's another aspect of it. Know how to disconnect from work. It is an all-encompassing industry that will eat up your whole life if you let it. So, you know, having boundaries, remembering to keep a balance. For people starting out in this, it's like build a network of contacts. Talk to people about what you love about it. Watch movies with the sound off and see if you can figure out what are the relationships between characters. Like picking up on those little tips, like those little details that tell you who these people are, can really hone your craft, hone that skill of storytelling through costumes. And don't try to race to the finish line. I think with anything that's worth doing, like enjoy it. Spend your time doing it. I spent 3 years as a costume PA, and then I spent 14 years as a costumer with doing low budget indies for minimal dollars, non-union ones on the side, you know, but just so I could build up a portfolio of my work, not work that was done at the direction of another designer, but my work. And you know, taking that time to really learn it and to enjoy the time you have doing it, because every job has great aspects, every job has its downsides. And sometimes there's days where I'm like, somebody else make all the decisions. I just want to put size tags on the shoes, you know? And then there's other days where it's like, it's really empowering to see what we get to make and what we get to do. And beyond all that, just keep that kernel of naivete. Because I think like one of your questions that you had previously shared with me was going to be like, you know, what do I wish I knew then that I know now that I could tell my younger self. I'm glad I was as naive as I was about the industry going into it. I think if I knew how challenging it could be, I could have possibly been like scared off by it. You know, when people are dismissive or mean, just assume that they're just kidding. Or they're having a bad day and they don't know how else to react, you know? But yeah, I've always thought like if you love something and you put your best foot forward, what can go wrong? Even every single mistake I've ever made has led to a greater success. It really has. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I'd say.
Yes. This has been amazing. I know you guys all learned something that you didn't know. You have tips that you can take away if you're creative. You have tips you can take away and build upon your skill set. And this has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for speaking with me, and I look forward to next time. You guys give a round of applause. Okay, great.
Thank you so much for being here. And I just also want to say that just as your last speaker said, I am going to put in a donation of $100 into this important scholarship, and I would love to see anyone who wants to match that as well.
Thank you so much.